Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. It was an absolutely fantastic game yesterday, or was it, really? There's lots of positives to take from the game. Luke McCowan for one, and there was more than just that. I mean, you could look at Yang and say that was a negative, but I'm not going to focus on that this morning. I'm not going to focus on that at all, because yesterday was all about what the Green Brigade did. And once again, the tifos from the Green Brigade were absolutely fantastic. And it wasn't just about that. It was about Paul McStay. It was about everything that's good about Celtic. And there are a lot of things that are good about Celtic. It was good to give them a minute's applause. I thought they were going to go for a minute's silence, but they went for the minute's applause. And John Clark, what a tifo that is. What an absolute amazing tifo. I think that he would be, he would have loved seeing that. He would have loved seeing that, the big man. But anyway, let's talk about the game yesterday and we'll look at the league table. The league table doesn't lie. Celtic are sitting second in the league. And I'll give Hibernian that, but if you have a nice little look at the league table as it stands, just have a look at from 7th down where Motherwell are. Anyway, when it comes to Celtic news, Brendan Rodgers wasn't too happy. And he says we'll be ready for Europe. Do you think we'll be ready for Europe? Tell me in the comment section. Do you think that we'll be ready for Europe? Brendan Rodgers says, look, after a late winner to see off St Mirren, he said he promised that Celtic will be ready for the Champions League qualification. Despite the fact that we need to get players in before the 14th, that's the deadline, but we are allowed 2 players, and Celtic will take it to the wire, won't they? We are allowed 2 players in within 24 hours of the first game, the qualifier. Luke McCowan's deflected strike 3 minutes from time. Did it just paper over the cracks? There were so many talking points about the game yesterday. They will be doing a live, by the way, for the Champions League draw for the playoff game. I will do a live for that, so make sure you join the channel for that. When you look at it, we've got a chance of playing Sturm Graz, Basel, Dynamo Kiev, Slovan Bratislava, and 3 other different teams. I think that the hardest one may be Basel that we might want to watch, but we'll talk about that later today. It's been a weird transfer window. Celtic weren't at their best yesterday, but they did manage to get it over the line. And I think that's all you can really ask for on the first game of the season. It's always a nod to the players that did it last year. But with players like Inamura not making the bench, Marco Tilio, will he finally get his wish to leave Celtic, or will that deal fall through? Because Rapid Vienna have said that they need the player in, and if they're not going to get him in, they're going to pull out of the deal. Now, Celtic had him sold for 1.3 million they put on loan with a 1.3 million obligation to buy the player. Marcos must be sitting up in the stadium in Parkhead thinking, do you know what, Celtic are just wasting my time here. And you've got to feel sorry for the lad, having travelled, I mean, because he'll be staying in a hotel and it's not ideal, you know, it's not ideal at all for him. He's over here, and take away from the fact that he may not be standard enough from Celtic. Look at it from a personal point of view. You know, as a young lad in a foreign country, not got any mates here really. He's training with Celtic, the team, but he knows he's not going to be here. They know he's not going to be here, and it's a terrible situation on a personal note. You know, and people say, oh, he's a football player, get on with it. Sometimes you need to think about the mentality of the younger player. But anyway, we move on. Rodgers is fed up with the transfer window. Yeah, aren't we all, Brent? Everyone knows that. Well, we need to talk about the one thing. The meltdown. Yes, the meltdown from the St Mirren boss. He said, I've never seen it before. He said, I don't care if Celtic they're going for their 14th title in 15 years. The time wasted, the last 5 minutes of the game. Oh my days. See if teams in Scotland think that putting the ball into the corner, which every player does, do you know, at every level, they do it at the top level. If you're 1-0 up with a couple of minutes to go, the first thing you do is you kick a long ball out to the striker, get your striker to run into the corner at the opposite end and just play keep ball. It's football. For fact that Stephen Robinson says the wasted time. Playing 6 at the back is wasting time. And you did that yesterday. He doesn't see the irony. Do you know? He didn't see the irony at all. You know, it's fantastic. But anyway, when you look back over the years, we've had some fantastic strikers at Celtic. Today, we're stuck with Adam Idah and Johnny Kenny. Johnny Kenny, a third-choice striker. Adam Idah, a backup striker at best. But where was Shin Yamada yesterday? Didn't Brendan Rodgers fancy... And I'm with Brendan on this one. A lot of people say that they should have brought Yamada on, but St Mirren last season, and it showed you towards the end of the games, they start losing the plot a bit, and they're all big, tall guys that like to go in with the elbows flying and, you know, hard tackles, and people say that's the Scottish game. It's an introduction that players like Shin Yamada don't really need and won't. You know, and you can talk about the qualities of Scottish football, whether it being fantastic or not, or whether you think that the rough and tumble of the Scottish game is good in this. And I'm going to stick it on the day that we've got the playoff draw. If teams want to go further in Europe, and I'm talking about the other teams that get into Europe and they get their wee jolly in July and August, you know, get their wee 1 week, 2 week jaunt into European football. If they want to be better, surely they know that they need to up the standard. And playing it the way they do in Scotland is not going to get you anywhere in European competition. Listen, we can look back history and talk about it, but it is what it is at Scottish football. Will there be more games like that this season at Celtic Park? Of course there will be. It's going to be one of those seasons where everyone's going to come in to Celtic Park. They're going to sit with 6 at the back. And it is up to Brendan Rodgers and Celtics to bring in forward players. Because having James Forrest should be a luxury player at this stage of his career. He should be a luxury player. He should be a player that comes on just to annoy defenders with 10-15 minutes to go. Do you know, it's like when you're a couple of goals up. And we should have been yesterday. We should have been at least 4 goals up. Adam Idah skyrocketing one over the bar when it was an open goal. That should have been on target. You've got to hit the target with that one. The one where he headers it down into the ground and the keeper gets it, you're thinking lucky. I mean, we hit the post a couple of times. Rio Hatate has one, hits the bar, comes off the keeper's hand, hits the bar. And then there's the golden opportunity that Yang should have had, that we never really spoke about yesterday. Dyson Maeda, amazing ball in front of everyone. You know, back post, you're expecting your winger to come in, slip the ball into the back of the net, as Nico Kuhn did so many times at the beginning of last season, and Yang was 2 or 3 yards off the pace, just nowhere near it. Didn't see that ball coming in at all. Didn't have the foresight to see, yep, Dyson's going to put it there, I'll run there. Nope, he stood and he went, I'm here. I'm fucking here. I'm not over there. I'm here. He's not what Celtic needs. And at best, Yang isn't even a backup at Celtic. And if Brendan Rodgers can say, yes, there's a player in there, he's got to talk up the player. Because he's the only winger that we've got left standing, which is an embarrassment. Because you think of the riches that we had in the wing positions over the course of numerous seasons now. And yes, it is unfortunate that Jota is injured, but even if Jota was injured, we're still 2 wingers short. When you look at that bench yesterday, I mean, we're bringing on Johnny Kenny and Luke McCowan. People will say, you know, he's Scottish football standard. Good, because we need people like Luke McCowan. You need people like him playing at Celtic. You know, it's fine bringing the level of Kieran Tierney back, who is absolutely a fantastic player. And hopefully it's just a case of managing Kieran's game time. And I think that's the fear that we've got going into this season. Kieran Tierney, you do not want him to play 90 minutes every game, because you seen the heat map of his position play yesterday. It was all over that side of the pitch. All over it. You know, and he puts in a shift and a half. We knew this when Kieran come back, that we needed another left back. Inamura, a 250 grand prospect signing, isn't the answer. Brendan Rodgers knows he's not the answer. He said he wasn't the answer. He said when Inamura came in, you can't bring a guy in that's had 1 year's competitive football. When there's lads that have came through the system at Celtic and played football for years that aren't good enough to get into the team. This guy's played professional football for a year, but we're expecting him to come in and be a top player in the SPFL. And Brendan Rodgers is obviously thinking, he's not going to handle it. He's not going to handle it at all. But it is what it is. We move on. Brendan Rodgers says that we will be ready. He vows to get in a new striker. We controlled the match, but we struggled. And that's the reality of it. We did control possession. The stats don't lie. It was a fantastic amount of passes. Our pass rate and everything was on ball as per normal. Statistically, when Celtic sit and look at the stats after the game, the stats guys will be like, yeah, it was a good game. But we've all seen the stats that let us down is converting the opportunities that we produce. And that's what we didn't do yesterday. We should have converted more. We should have been, within the first 20 minutes, we should have been 2 or 3-0 up. We should have been 2 up anyway. But anyway, it's just about improving the areas we want, says Brendan Rodgers, and it's about improving the forward line. Something that he's reiterated again and again and again. And we're all sitting here and we've all ascertained that we are shite going forward, Brendan. Yes, I said it. We are absolutely, we're good going forward at pace, but it's the finishing that's really letting us down. Brendan Rodgers sat last season and he said we need to be, you remember 2 seasons ago, Brendan Rodgers kept on going about the final third. We need to be better in the final third. Last season we were better in the final third. This season we've regressed terribly. He said it's about improving. There are areas where we want to improve the final forward line. That's something that we hope that we can do over these remaining weeks. We knew Kieran Tierney and maybe Ali Johnson because a few weeks back Kieran was just coming in. Austin Trusty was on the bench so we could move Scales to left back. I thought he was fantastic in the game. Yeah, he was till you moved him to left back. Going forward, Scales isn't a left back. He's not a guy that can get to the byline and getting crosses and stuff. Do you know, he's skillsy. And he had a great game yesterday. Don't get me wrong. I thought Rio Hatate played tremendous yesterday. Looks as if he's got a real hunger for the game again this season. And I'm looking forward to Rio Hatate this year. Because if he's got that hunger and he wants the desire and he knows that he could be the standout player at Celtic this year. He knows he'll get his £25 million move that he desires. And that's the reality of Celtic. I want Rio Hatate to be phenomenal this year. Because if he is, we've got a cracking player in midfield. And yeah, we will get him sold for 20 odd million next summer. So be it. It's the Celtic way. But I would rather have one season like we did with Matt O'Reilly. Absolutely been a beautiful players to watch for the team. And, given so much for the team. And then if he's sold, so be it. We all know the way that Celtic work. And I think that this could be the season that we're all screaming and shouting about how good Rio Hatate is. Let's hope that he continues it. Kieran Tierney, you get what you get with Kieran Tierney. Phenomenal passing range and crossing range, which is unbelievable. Brendan Rodgers made it more than obvious yesterday that we need to do more in the transfer window. The defence looks solid and flexible, he said. I think that we need another left back. We have brought in Simpson, Puzzi to Celtic to bring in a bit of depth, but he is just a lone player. It's not ideal, but Celtic will announce that today and it'll be all happy clapping. Anyway, the signings that have arrived this summer, there's a strong mix of are they Brendan's, are they not Brendan's? I'm not too sure. But at the end of the day, we stop all the chat about what the manager's going to do and if he's going to stay here or not. We start back in the team and we start making some noise. I found it interesting yesterday that one of the corners, Benji turned around to the fans behind the goal and was like, come on, mate, what happened to this fantastic arena and this atmosphere that I've been told about for weeks and weeks? First game of the season and you've got a brand new player at the club, trying to get the fans up off their feet and make some noise. For everyone that's got a little bit of hate for the Green Brigade, and there is a lot of the fan base that think that they're sort of, they're self-important, and they've got a dig with the Green Brigade. If it wasn't for the Green Brigade and the boys, the atmosphere at Celtic Park would be atrocious. And I did say before the season started, I want every fan to make some noise. I want every fan to be counted. And I think going forward, you know, if we can do that, Fergus McCann must have sat there yesterday and went, I'm not being funny, lads, but the atmosphere in the stadium was a lot better in my day than it is yours. And he must have been sitting having a little bit of a gloat about it, because the atmosphere that we had in the early days at Celtic Park was phenomenal. And you know, all that's happened is a lot of the supporters have maybe got a little bit older and want to sit in their wee tushies a little bit longer, and the new modern supporters just want to sit on their bums altogether. Anyway, it's absolutely fantastic to be back. I am absolutely buzzing that football is back full time. Game day 1, we won. That's all that matters. And the fact that we're sitting second in the league, do you know what? I'll give that to Hibernian. Let's just see if we can keep the 2 years up there for the season going forward. I'll make sure that you join me just before, I think it's 11 o'clock Celtic Park time, that the draw for the Champions League playoff game will be, and we'll see who we get in the Champions League. Will we be excited? Can we win it? Can we get players in? So many questions. Not a lot of time to answer them though.